Hi, everyone. So here we are. It's College of the Atlantic's 48th commencement ceremony. And for the past 4 years, Phil Moriarty has served this institution as chairman of the board and has done that with remarkable skill and passion. And he will forever be a friend and mentor to me and to this institution. And now, using magic and a bewildering number of ones and zeros, I call forth Phil Moriarty.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees of College of the Atlantic, a warm welcome to our special hybrid commencement celebration in honor of each degree recipient of the class of 2021. Our deep gratitude to each member of the faculty, to each staff member, and to each family member. The experiences and hard work of imparting and receiving knowledge is squarely at the heart of our mission of human ecology. We honor the journey that brought our wonderful graduating students here today, and in confidence, send you on new journeys well-equipped to make a difference in the world. Congratulations to all. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of College of the Atlantic, a warm welcome.
Thanks, Phil. Now I'd like to introduce Katrine Osterby to deliver the welcome on behalf of the class of 2021. Katrine.
Can you all see me over there? Hello, does this sound okay? Okay, hello. My name is Katrina. And on behalf of every single senior graduating today, I would like to welcome you to the commencement ceremony of the College of the Atlantic class of 2021. Together, we warmly receive all of you, friends, families, students, faculty, and staff. A few of you are here with us under or just outside the tent. Some of you are across the continent, and others are oceans away. We would like to thank you for being with us today. No matter your location, we are so grateful that you are here. As we begin, I would like to acknowledge that I do not know where every single senior is today. And I want to tell you a little story about why that doesn't matter. Last week, a friend and I went to a pond on the island. I jumped in, and as I took a few strokes, I found a calm, warm patch of water. The temperature suited me perfectly. For a moment, I stopped swimming. I laid on my back, spread out my body, and as I looked at the blue sky, I smiled. That moment was the first time in a long time that I could stop swimming and still stay afloat. Dear families and friends, you're looking at a senior class that did not find many moments like that this year. You're looking at a senior class that in order to stay afloat, we had to keep swimming. When waves were crashing, when nothing was what we planned, what we thought, or what we had ever imagined our senior year to be like, we kept swimming. And that is what we are here to celebrate today. In doing so, we recognize that we have all been so many places, both physically and emotionally this year. It does not matter where every single senior is in their degree requirements, their emotions, their old and new friendships, in their path forwards, and in their ways of holding on. Celebrating our successes and recognize all the storms we are swimming in, these are not two opposites. We are here because despite everything this past year has brought, we did the best we could. We kept swimming, and that is a celebration. So dear seniors, dear families, dear friends, I want to invite all of you to a moment of floating effortlessly in the pond next to me. Take a look at the blue sky, take a look at each other, and if you want to, you can smile. To the people in and just outside our tent, give these seniors and yourselves an extra round of applause as they receive their very well-earned diplomas. And for the people joining us on sofas around the world, cheer for these seniors just a little louder as you spot them on the screen. No matter where we are today and right now, it's a tremendous accomplishment that we are right here today. So you're all part of this celebration. Welcome. Thank you. And next, I would like to introduce and welcome President Darren Collins.
So I want to do three things in the few minutes that I have with you. Celebrate this moment, recognize some of the phenomena that made all of this possible, and reflect a little bit on what we've come through this year. Think for a second all that's occurred to bring us to this place on this lawn, sitting separated with masks along a body of water, spinning through space 150 million kilometers from a 2 nonillion kilogram ball of fire. Think for a second the journey of lives. 83 of you, passing from the wombs of mothers in places with names like Aniak, Alaska, Mars Hill, Maine, and Santa Cruz de la Sierra, Bolivia. Living lives of the most wondrous diversity and making millions of choices, including the very specific choice that led you to come here to this place and join this special community. Think for a second all the agreements you've made to principles and requirements, to signposts and scaffolding that have guided you through your years toward this degree in human ecology, engaging with hundreds of people and thousands of concepts, the creation of a portfolio of work endlessly edited and eventually approved. And now we are all here. You are here together. I get chills when I think of all of that. And we celebrate that special moment today with signs and symbols, with songs, with words, and with acts. And let's celebrate with just a few seconds of silence. Second, now it would be altogether impractical to recognize everything and thank everyone who's made this day possible. But I will start with the recognition of Maine, not as vacation land, but as a homeland. all Passamaquoddy territory, including the ground upon we which now sit, was stolen by the British in 1763 following the aftermath of the 7 Years' War. And it is our collective responsibility to recognize and repair this thievery and the fractures of colonialism, fractures that have violently torn the Passamaquoddy and the other tribes of the Wabanaki Confederacy off and apart from their lands. And I'll also recognize the parents, the guardians, the friends and family out there who definitely should be in here. This ceremony is also about you and everything you've given to these 83 lives to make their journey possible. In limiting the in-person event to faculty, staff, and students, we chose what we thought was the best path, one of caution and equity. But I know for sure that such choices had painful results for you out there who wanted desperately to be in here with us. We know for sure that a live stream is a woefully inadequate portrayal of life. But you as loved ones, we recognize that none of this would be possible without your love, support, and kindness that you've given to these students. And then there are the individuals who've been part of this community for so long and have, over the course of decades, imprinted their very being on this institution, and who are now moving on to a phase of life that's called retirement. I want to first recognize and thank faculty member Isabel Mancinelli, who began her career here on July 1 of 1991. And I want to recognize and thank faculty member John Cooper, who started on September 1, 1989. And finally, I want to recognize and thank our good buddy Bobby Nolan, Assistant Director of Buildings and Grounds, who started the same year I arrived as a student on June 1, 1988. Just know the impact you've had on the seniors here and on the institution writ large, and that it is enormous and permanent. Thank you. Now, I also want to recognize someone who has had the most profound impact on me and on my role here at this institution as its president, and that's Carla Peña. Y quiero agradecer a Carla Peña, ella que tiene un corazón tan grande como el mar, y quien me ha enseñado a ver nuestro mundo más claramente, con lentes distintos. Gracias, Carla. Lastly, I want to reflect a bit on this year. How could words ever describe what we've lived through? Now, fire might provide the best analogy, because this island and this college knows fire really well. The fire of 47 burned 17,000 acres and called forth a revitalization that eventually would give inspiration and life to this college. The fire of campus in 1983 that occurred right up there on the red bricks about 150 meters from where we sit, it nearly took the life out of us. And we've been in the most heat-intensive crucible for the past 15 months with this pandemic. And at the same time, we've been exposed to flames of reckoning around racial violence and justice in our country and at COA as an institution. And do you know how we survived all this? Honestly, we survived it because of you, The only reason we made the decision to come back and do this whole thing in person this year was because we knew you wanted it. We knew that being together in person is a core of who we are. And we knew that you had the compassion, empathy, and selflessness to make it through. And thank God you are here, because only with you here present could we have started down the long road of creating an anti-racist, equitable, and inclusive human ecology here at COA. Am I proud of what we've been through and accomplished in this scalding crucible? Yeah. Am I confident and optimistic about our future and the work ahead of us? I definitely am. But I've got to admit, acknowledge, and recognize, like Katrina, our exhaustion as well. A muscle that has been exercised is sore and fatigued before it emerges stronger. And we are sore and fatigued, and that's okay. And during this sore and fatigued state, here at the end of such a tumultuous time, I've come away with 3 general beliefs about life, and I wanted to conclude with those. Thoughts that are something of a reprioritization for me. First, I enjoy and have more faith in the power of building, of construction of things and ideas, rather than tearing down and deconstruction. Second, I found great joy and utility in slow, thoughtful, thick description, and have prioritized that description over explanation. And third, paraphrasing the words of our founding president, Ed Kelber, where the greater virtues are said to be wisdom, justice, intelligence, and discipline, and the lesser virtues are named as gentleness, cheerfulness, gratefulness, and kindness. Both categories are crucial, but I've come to believe that the lesser virtues, gentleness, cheerfulness, gratefulness, and kindness, are indeed commanders of and gateways to the greater virtues. Now, to mark this reprioritization and as a totem for helping you remember this college, you have in your possession a small piece of the COA shrine, a shard of cement and aggregate. Go build with it, describe it, and treat it with kindness. Thank you. I'm now really honored to introduce Abby Jo Morris, who's giving the first student perspective.
Howdy, y'all. You doing good? Your butt's getting numb? Shake a little bit? All right, let's get into it. When I was a prospective student, I so worried that committing to a major, committing to a school meant locking myself into a particular life path. Like when you're riding on a roller coaster and the bar locks over your lap and you can't get it off. And I thought, if I commit to a life path and I end up not liking it, then my only option is getting off, going all the way back at the beginning and starting all over. And so, even though I felt a lot of pressure to choose something, I went with the path that could allow more exploration. I went with COA, and that really ended up being the best decision. My 4 years here have afforded a few revelations. The first is that most real grown-ups, because I don't think any of us feel like real grown-ups, Most real grown-ups don't just work one career for their entire lives. Most of them, they work a ton of them. Secondly, changing paths is not the same as starting over. And lastly, every path you choose is going to bring good days, and it's going to bring bad days. It's going to bring days where you bless everything that led you to it. And there are going to be days where you curse every single goddamn thing that brought you to that path. So if you accept that relative truth, if there are going to be good days and bad days every path, then what's the point of a formal education? Frankly, I don't know. I don't. Still trying to figure that one out. But there is more value than I could have ever thought to an informal education. This community has held space for me to be whoever I was at any given moment. I have paraded into my work study and admissions office wearing less than professional attire. Some might even say unprofessional. I have obnoxiously shouted jokes that have fallen so flat in big crowds. Essentially, I have said the wrong thing at the wrong time, at the wrong place, so many times. And yet, through it all, y'all have granted me a sense of security that has allowed me to make those mistakes, that has allowed me to identify with different interests, a different name, different pronouns, different religion even, without ever worrying that I would lose your support. I will probably hold 50 different jobs in my life, and I will probably even identify differently than I do now. This uncertainty of the future still makes me hella anxious, but not nearly so much as it did when I came here. And I have you all to thank, so thank you. We get it, I'm amazing. Now it is my immense pleasure to welcome our next student speaker, someone I'm so thankful I can call my friend. Welcome, Miss Vonnie Love.
Hello, everyone. Okay. So I first want to thank my fellow seniors for nominating me to speak today. Although I feel like I've been doing enough talking over the last 3 years, I'm honored to be here. But it was hard to figure out what I could talk about. I could talk about being Black, about how my accomplishments and hard work was dismissed by a girl in high school saying COA only accepted me because I was Black, and how a professor this year told me I have a good chance of getting the Watson because I'm Black. Again, making me doubt my accomplishments. So you can only imagine that the first thought when I heard that I was speaking today is, oh, they chose me because I'm Black. But that's not all I am. I'm not just Black. I am a low-income, Southeast DC native, educator, caregiver, and nonprofit founder. At COA, I started the college's first Black student union. I was an OOPS leader, an RA, a TA, a member of both DEI work groups, and also a student. But for some reason, being Black was the only accomplishment that you'll hear about. But I will forever be a student, and I hope I will always, as I continue to always learn from others, nature, and the places around me. COA has helped me realize that, and I appreciate that. But just like many students at COA, I couldn't just be a student. In addition to being students, we also had to be change makers, fighting the injustices and fixing the issues at COA. The issues like students missing meals and not eating because they can't afford it, They can't afford buying food despite having a large non-refundable balance on their meal cards. The housing crisis that leaves students homeless the first week of the year or longer. Professors saying racist remarks and not getting any consequences besides a slap on the wrist because our anti-racist policies are non-existing. Carla Pena putting her heart and whole self into COA for 22 years, only to be exploited, severely underpaid, but overworked, and not receiving any support to help alleviate some of the language barriers or the traveling costs. And the fact that the students are the ones who are helping Carla bring this to attention and demanding action to be made. Overworked and underpaid is the sad reality of contingent faculty who does not receive a living wage or benefits but expect to do the work of a full faculty. COA prides itself on the great things its students and faculty are doing, but has failed to make sure that they have a place to live, food to eat, and a living wage and basic respect and appreciation. But behind these issues and so many more, you will find students, faculty, and staff working hard to fix these issues. Working on these issues not because they want to, but because they have to. If we don't do it, it won't happen. But why is it on us to fix these issues that the college should already figured out? Why is it on us to hold a burden of COA's lack of effort to alleviate these problems while also trying to cope with the impacts these problems have on us? Because I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired. I am tired of hearing empty promises and poor excuses. But what can I say? COA is truly amazing because of the people in it. My peers, remember, COA and any other college is lucky to have you because you make it, not the other way around. But I'm not talking about these issues to bash COA. Like I said before, I love COA. I found my best friends, I found my passion, I've had so many opportunities here, and I would not change it for a thing. But that love and pride is not enough. Action needs to happen, and it needs to start happening now. So I'll end with one question. Beyond talking, what is the college doing to fix these issues? Let me rephrase. Darren Collins, what are you doing to fix these issues? Thank you. Thank you. And I'm very excited to announce our next speaker, Galen Hall.
Good looking folks out there. Buenas tardes a todos. Desde el día que la conocí a Carla Peña me ha apoyado y guiado con generosidad y confianza y una fe increíble. Por eso agradezco tanto tener la oportunidad de presentar ese florero donde pondremos nuestras flores de graduación como una muestra de que dentro de ese día de celebración te tenemos en nuestros corazones. Te queremos muchísimo y estamos contigo. Good afternoon, everyone. Since the very first day I met Carla, she has supported me and guided me with generosity, confidence, and an incredible amount of faith. So today I am grateful for the opportunity to present this vase where we will be putting our flowers from graduation as a reminder that in this day of celebration, we have not forgotten about you. We care for you deeply, and we are with you. On a slightly different note, I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I love teaching writing. I work at the college's writing center, where my COA peers bring in any assignment or project that has to do with writing. As a tutor, my job is to help them in whatever way they need. I have been told by the writers I work with that I am able to help them in a significant way with their work. And I've thought about why that is, and I think it is because some of the best work I do happens when I turn myself into a mirror for the writer that I'm working with. I'm only there to show them what they already know, the voice that they already have, the strategies that are already intuitively inside them. I'm really just there to show them that they're already capable writers. For my high school graduation speech, I wrote about the same basic belief, about how every human being has a seed of inherent goodness in them. That seed can be nurtured, it can be left to wither, but it never dies. The potential is never gone. One of the hardest realizations of my 4 years at COA was that my ability to recognize that potential in other people comes with a shadow side. I can recognize the inherent goodness in everyone except for myself. In my senior project, I grappled with the two together, my teaching and my struggle to recognize the potential in myself, and I began to try to see myself the same way that I see the writers that I work with. And I realized that it's the hardest thing I've ever tried to do, that I'm deeply critical of myself, and that it is far, far easier for me to praise someone else and their work than it is for me to accept praise for the work that I do or the person that I am. And I want to share this with you all today because when I was selected to give this speech, I responded by squirming and shuffling my feet. Despite all the peers I know who nominated me for this position, it's still hard for me to believe that my voice matters or that people want to hear what I have to say. So I'm here giving this speech as a chance to just let myself speak in front of you all and trust that my voice is worth hearing. I'm also here to say to all of you and to my fellow students especially that I respect and appreciate and have total faith in the inherent potential and the inherent goodness of every one of you. The work that you do has constantly amazed me in my time at COA. The way that each of you moves through the world differently is totally inspiring to me. But I can't stand here telling you what amazing people you are without remembering that I have spent my life being told I'm humble, kind, intelligent, and I've never been able to fully accept it because I still don't believe I deserve it. And that perception of myself as inadequate, unworthy, as not there yet, that perception has been one of the greatest barriers in my COA experience, whether that was writing, teaching, learning, friendships, relationships. All of my attempts to help other people find their voices in writing have been diminished by the basic belief that my voice is not worthy. So I'm asking you all to take a moment and gather some of the love and awe, the wonder and appreciation, the respect, hope, encouragement, support, patience, and forgiveness that you might offer your friends, your mentors, your family, your partners, and offer a little bit of it to yourself as a gift. That's what I've slowly been learning to do. And I have also learned that when I work to help writers recognize their own intuitive abilities, I am more than just a mirror. I do not merely reflect the person in front of me, I engage in an exchange with them as a fellow human being. Because all the reasons we write ourselves off, all the failures, insecurities, confusions, contradictions, all those shadows mixed in with our light do not make us inadequate or unworthy, they make us whole. And it is because of that wholeness that we are able to enter into relationship with others as teachers, as friends, as fellow human beings. Through that wholeness, we are able to share in the basic, ridiculous, messy gloriousness that it is to be human. And as whole human beings, we are all worthy of love and respect right now, exactly as we are. Thank you. now, I'm delighted to call Sejali Song to the stage, who will introduce our graduation speaker.
Hi, everyone. 2018 was a groundbreaking year in United States history. We saw the youngest woman ever elected to Congress, the first Muslim women elected to the House, the first Black Massachusetts and Connecticut Congresswomen, the first Texan Latinx women elected to Congress, the first Black and Latinx women governors, attorney generals, lieutenant governors, judges, and more. Amongst these historic wins, Deb Haaland, a member of the Laguna Pueblo tribe, became one of the first 2 Native American women elected to Congress. 3 years later, she made history again by becoming the first Native American cabinet member when she was sworn in this March as Secretary of the Interior. Deb is also a single mother who survived on food stamps and put herself through college and law school. For myself, growing up as a single mom, relying on food stamps to get by, it was hard to find female voices in leadership to look up to. When I was little, I would dress up in this little white blazer, carry around a clipboard, and tell my mom that I'd be the first woman US president. I didn't really know what that meant, but I knew that many voices were missing in national leadership. I didn't see many women leading the country and fewer minoritized voices. I saw a lot of rich, older white men making decisions for everyone. Well, in my life and all around me, I saw my Haitian best friend, my lesbian aunts, my single working mother, my Lebanese Habibti, and so many other women from all walks of life. I realized that most women in my life weren't represented in national leadership, but I saw them every day, leading communities, caring for one another, building businesses, raising children, farming, and leading local political movements. In 2018, the tide began to change, and I began to see women elected to office who looked like the people in my life. But 2018 was just the very beginning for the US, a start at listening and inclusive representation that should have begun centuries ago. We need voices that reflect the people they serve and that represent Indigenous land. Not only has the US and the rest of the world ignored and repressed marginalized voices, but our environment has suffered the same mistreatment. The land we stand on today was Native American Wabanaki land long before white settlers trespassed on it. And it is now the time for the voices of ancestral land to be at the forefront of land and climate change decision-making. There is much more work to be done, many more voices to uplift, and many more people from many more walks of life to take the charge of leading our nations into a new future. I'm honored today to introduce one of the women who is taking this charge, breaking new barriers and blazing new paths. Please join me in welcoming Deb Haaland, our 2021 keynote speaker.
Hello, everyone. President Collins, Board Chair Moriarty, esteemed faculty, students, family, friends, and supporters of the College of the Atlantic's class of 2021. First, I want to say thank you to President Collins for the extraordinary privilege of addressing all of you as you close one chapter in your important story and open another. I'm honored to share this moment with you from the ancestral homelands of the Anacostan and Piscataway people. As I learned more about this school and the incredible field of study each of you committed to, I was filled with hope for the future. My work as a public servant has been centered on combating the climate emergency so we can leave a livable planet for future generations, and that's a big part of President Biden's Build Back Better agenda, which is to say that the focus of study at the College of the Atlantic will be crucial to the work we do as we all work to build back better. I know that the tasks ahead will not be fast or easy, but I know we're up for the challenge with leaders like you coming into the workforce. You all are not just the leaders of tomorrow, though your generation is leading the efforts to protect our planet today. And I'm here to support those efforts. I learned my deep respect for the natural world from my dad, who always took us outside to enjoy the outdoors, and even more profoundly on my grandparents' cornfield at the Pueblo of Laguna, where I learned how interconnected the world is. The food we ate came from the plants we grew, which relied on the sun and the water from the river, and the river relied on snow in the mountains during winter. It was a lesson on how even the worms we picked off of the corn were connected in this system that supports all life. Those experiences led me to work on legislation that supported sustainable agricultural practices with the College of the Atlantic's esteemed alumna and now Congresswoman Shelley Pingree. And in an even more reflective way, led me to be the first Native American cabinet secretary at a department that has a direct mission to protect the planet for future generations. As you all reach this milestone, I want you to always remember why you chose College of the Atlantic and what you learned from your experiences in Acadia National Park, the homeland of the Passamaquoddy people. Our country and our world are counting on you. Be fierce and don't let anything hold you back. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Haaland, for that helpful political and personal contextualization of the work we do here at College of the Atlantic. My name is Bonnie Tai. I am the Borden Chair in Humanities, Director of Educational Studies, and Associate Dean for Learning and Teaching. In a moment, Secretary Haaland will also receive an honorary degree. First, I want to congratulate the class of 2021. Few people in the world have the privilege of completing a college degree, and fewer still have finished their final year amidst the global pandemic. Appreciation to all of you who are here, who've guided, inspired, and championed our graduates and our honorees. I have the distinct pleasure and privilege to introduce our other honorary degree candidates. Amber Tam Canty was a student doing her first year at COA and could have graduated with the class of 2017 with a focus in botany and art education, if not for a family tragedy, after which she chose to return home to support her younger siblings. Since her time at COA, she's dedicated herself to serving low-income communities of color while obtaining an experiential education in agroforestry, permaculture, urban farming, and farm education. After burying her mother, she came to understand, in her words, that the earth literally became her mother. As a farmer in New York, California, and Hawaii, including for Project Eats, the rooftop farms of Brooklyn Grange, and for Cooper Union, she was able to heal herself and the earth while feeding others. Her work has since focused on the healing relationships between farming and farmland by building a regenerative food system that nourishes under-resourced communities with healthy, locally grown, and culturally appropriate food while restoring the land. You may know of Amber's New York City Parks application to turn a third of the Great Lawn in Central Park into Seneca Village Farm, a community farm that would honor the Lenape and the former Black community who were earlier residents of the land. Amber's work has been featured widely in Modern Farmer, Beside Magazine, Guayaki, Loam Magazine, Civil Eats, Cultivating Place podcast, the New York Post and New York Times, among others. She's spoken widely, including at COA, the 2020 Fiber Shed Symposium, and the 2020 Juneteenth celebration with a growing culture. Amber may be best known for her vision of farm in Central Park, for participation in Dan Barber's kitchen farming project, which encourages chefs to grow their own food, and for the GoFundMe campaign she started in 2020, which raised over $120,000 in 6 days towards securing community farmland on which she aims to educate young Black and brown adolescents about farming. As she says in an interview with Guayaki, quote, "Farmers are cities' connection with nature," unquote. Amber, although you can't be with us in person today, I know that you're watching the live stream, and if your mother, she's here today, is no doubt beaming at the caring, wise, and creative young human ecologists for whom we have the privilege of awarding an honorary degree. Your COA family and friends are here to celebrate this well-earned distinction and your dedication to healing and feeding others.
I first want to thank College of the Atlantic for seeing me and hearing me and valuing me so much as to give me this honorary degree. I accept this honorary degree on behalf of my mother, who truly sacrificed her actual life so that I could live mine the way that I'm living it now. This degree feels like justice for her life. Feels like justice for me. And what I've gone through because her life is gone. And lastly, I accept this degree on behalf of all of the beautiful people in the world who have non-traditional paths. I truly want to uplift that, and I truly want to motivate young folks and older folks to think about what it looks like to not have a conventional pathway, especially within academia, and really figure out how to help people while learning. In conclusion, I truly never thought I would have a college degree, especially from College of the Atlantic. It's a very surreal moment for me, and I'm just really grateful. So thank y'all so much.
Andy Griffiths is well known to most of the class of 2021 and the staff and faculty. He was the College of the Atlantic's Administrative Dean and Chief Financial Officer from 2004 through 2019, including interim president in the first half of 2011. He's continued to support the college in many ways, including as a consultant. Just recently, I was working in the community garden and I heard a voice greeting me from a car window, and it was Andy showing a friend around campus. What you may not know is that Andy has a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Brown University and a Master of Science in Digital Communications from Northeastern University. He has worked as a systems engineer in industry and at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, as Director of Program Analysis at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, as Associate Commissioner of the Massachusetts Welfare Department, and as co-founder and Vice President of Technical Development Corporation, a social service organization in Boston that was founded originally to serve prison reform, and one of the oldest nonprofit management consulting and research firms in the US. Prior to arriving at COA, he was treasurer and vice president of finance and administration for 24 years with WGPH in Boston, responsible for 3 public television stations, 3 public radios, and a major national public television production center. At College of the Atlantic, Andy provided steadfast oversight of our financial resources with his characteristically warm demeanor and generous mentorship of those who had the benefit of working closely with him. In preparing his introduction, I learned that the TDC's strengths are, quote, a balance of aspiration and pragmatism, unquote, which I thought describes Andy perfectly. So please join me in appreciating and celebrating Andy for a lifetime of service to human ecology through pragmatic and aspirational organizational stewardship.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's great to be back in this tent again. I'm sorry more of you could not join us here in the tent. But I first wanted to just say something that I've said so many times. My wife reminded me this morning of saying that this joining COA is the best decision, or one of the best decisions I've ever made for me and for my family. And I look back on those decisions so fondly. Now, I'm not a great storyteller, but I did want to relate two incidents that I experienced at WGBH, at COA, which I think really says something about the basic values that we all cherish here. The first one was, I think it was the very first meeting in my first week at the college, when I was the chair of the personnel committee, and I was told that the agenda for that meeting was to discuss the priorities for new hires, if we ever could find the money to hire a new person. And since I had come from a very competitive organization in my prior years, I did not look forward to this discussion in the least. I thought it could really turn nasty. But the first person who took the floor was Karen Waldron, whom you all know, I'm sure. As the professor of English literature, I thought, uh-oh, here comes the pitch for the library. And she stood up and she said, I think everybody in this room would agree that our highest need, the department that needs the funds the most and more staff, is buildings and grounds. And my anxiety immediately disappeared. And she went on to talk about how needy they were and what great work that they did. And everyone in the room, I think, applauded that and appreciated those thoughts. And to me, coming in from the outside in a different world altogether, suddenly this was a sense of what teamwork at COA would be like. And this idea was reinforced for me in all of my years at COA. The other brief story that I wanted to relate was more moving for me, more emotional, in that I was sitting in this tent with my wife and listening to the student talks. And one student was from Sri Lanka and was relating the struggles that he was having, talking to his parents about what would life after COA be. And they had struggled through a long period where he had been a UWC student and 4 years of work at the College of the Atlantic. And his parents really thought that at last he had it made. The other thing that they thought was that any graduate of a U.S. college was probably in a position to go out and make a lot of money. And the issue that he tried to explain to his parents, without hurting them, was that the values that he had learned at COA were such that making a pile of money was not his top priority. And in fact, he has gone on to serve the community in many wonderful ways. So I just wanted to say that those two examples to me say a lot about my feelings towards the College of the Atlantic. And I'm sure that you graduates here, you students who are about to graduate, will have very similar experiences in your lives. So thank you very much.
Phil's going to say something.
I now have the great pleasure to present Honorary Master of Philosophy degrees in Human Ecology to Deb Haaland, Andrew Griffiths, and Amber Tam. By the power vested in me as Chairman of the Board of Trustees of College of the Atlantic, it is my privilege to confer upon Deb Haaland, Andrew Griffiths, and Amber Tam the honorary degree of Master of Philosophy in Human Ecology. Their names will be joined to the distinguished group of honorary degree recipients. Thank you, Deb. And we are delighted to honor your contributions to human ecology.
Mr. Chairman, the candidates who will come before you today include students who have completed all the requirements for graduation and those students who will finish their research projects in the summer or the autumn. The academic deans, registrar, and faculty of College of the Atlantic enthusiastically recommend that the following students receive the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Human Ecology. The flowers that the candidates will present to each other symbolize the experience and affection they have shared at College of the Atlantic. I'd first like to call up Sarah Luthia Anderson.
Mafe Aragon Orrego.
Jaime Araújo Moreira Miranda.
My friend, Dominique Felix Arsenault.
Talia Benzer Schumann.
Hunter Michael Bischoff.
Allison Michelle Bly.
Lauren Brady. Anna Elizabeth Capitano.
Grace Virginia Carter. Ian Edward Cooling.
Michaela Georgina Corrigan.
Celeste Colorado Crowley.
The one and only Jackson Day.
Sophia Cristina DeSantis.
Freya Ellen Finkel.
Lindsay Heather Fuller. Nils Peter Gastukian. Lily Mae Garenbeck. Nickel Ryan Glover.
Lilu Gordon Fox.
Stephanie Gorachi Ayala. Galen Tarn Hall.
Jamie Hansen. Chester Leo Hardina Blanchett.
Hadrian Hatfield.
Abigail Esther Jacob. Cinder Stone Johnson. Olivia Scott Jolly. The Danielle Christine Jones. Mahir Calgood.
Ella Harry Keegan.
Yekaterina Hodovna. Aya Kumagai. Sage Leaf Song.
Eliza Catherine Light.
Vonnie Love.
Angela Maverich.
Liam Gareth McCarthy Edwards.
Maya Virginia McDonald.
Rainer Mason McIntosh Round.
Xavier Harewa Morales.
Gabrielle Morose.
Annabelle Louise Morrill.
Abigail Jo Morris.
Truth Mahler.
Veronica Cheyenne Niehazel.
Katrina Brandt Osterby.
Hélène Perignon.
Gabrielle Rochelle Polly. Andrea Marie Michelle Quetz.
Joshua Michael Quigley. Betsy Randolph. Mark Francis Rivestall.
Ilana Rios Salaman.
Emily Sanborn.
Rosemary Santoro.
Brendan Charles Schwab. Emma Esterbrook Shapiro Barnard. Brendan Warren Shepard.
Gwendolyn Eve Shope. Jesse Michael Snyder.
Sarah Patience Soames.
Michaela Sueldo Glatley. Stephanie Sutherland. Cahal Dennis Taylor. Annalena Vaher.
Goya Vandenberg.
Gideon Donald Wallace.
Helen Clark Westall.
Adele Rose Wise.
Indigo Hannon Woods.
Alexandra Morgan Wright. Connor Young.
By the power vested in me as chairman of the Board of Trustees of College of the Atlantic, it is my pleasure to confer the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Human Ecology on all seniors graduating today, and welcome them to the ranks of the college's alumni with the attendant rights, privileges, and responsibilities.
I just want to close by thanking Secretary Haaland, Amber Tam Canty, Andy Griffiths, and all of you who have made today's ceremony so memorable. So memorable, thank you. And on behalf of the entire College of the Atlantic community, I want to extend my heartiest congratulations to the class of 2021. I love you all. All right.